Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another live episode of Conversations Cafe. I am your host, Carl Evans, Senior Director of Operations at Hope for the Day, and this is our last live episode for the year. We will probably be having a special year-end episode that's going to be airing in the next coming weeks, but today marks one of our last set programming pieces for what has been a incredibly active and busy year, both for Conversations Cafe and I think it goes without saying, life in general. And we'll be doing a retrospective later this month, which is why I kind of say it's going to be a collection of videos, pre-recorded videos, as well as live commentary. And we've kind of been having that set up because there's been a lot to have to reflect on this year. But this marks the sort of conclusion of what has been a weekly version of Conversations Cafe that was really an adjustment for responding to COVID and the pandemic. Conversations Cafe in its earliest iterations was strictly podcast, live recorded at Sip of Hope Coffee Shop, which we began in December of 2018, really, actually. And then began with a once a month recorded episode out of Sip of Hope that we were able to produce and showcase for all of you. And again, it was primarily audio podcast only. And that was the plan even into 2020. We hope to bring a lot of great new topics and intersectional discussions on mental health to all of you. And as the pandemic rise, we realized that we wanted to, we couldn't just go live record at the coffee shop, Sip of Hope anymore, but we still wanted to bring the same kind of impacting content. And we also felt that there was a gap in the way we could deliver education and outreach. And that's why Conversations Cafe evolved to the weekly live stream. And it's always been a plan of ours to go to the sort of live stream format. The weekliness was kind of a COVID response. We may do different sorts of episodes in a different structure, and it may be monthly or once every 2 weeks. That's something that'll sort of, you will get to see as right at the top of January 2021, the sort of new Conversations Cafe schedule and delivery. And I bring all that up to say that we always knew Conversations Cafe, even with the audio podcast locked in, was going to eventually be something that we did on camera, was going to be something that we'd like to create live streaming for, was going to be something that we bring to the digital platform. Because when it comes to proactive suicide prevention, the goal is building platforms to connect to all the different intersections mental health has in our community. And so we find ourselves through things like Project Red Team and 86 The Silence, our platforms that meet in veterans, first responders communities, live event hospitality in the culinary communities for 86 The Silence. And these are different groups. When we think of Team Thrive, if you've been with Hope for the Day, you've seen Team Thrive, which is a platform to meet the intersection of sort of physical activity, sports, and things like that. If you've been lucky to participate in our Breathe for Hope experiences, it's a yoga experience that we're running twice a month, and it's available online for free that you can RSVP for. And Breathe for Hope is another example of trying to meet that intersection where it's as much about an outreach engagement on mental health as it is this intersection of using sort of healthy breathing, yoga techniques, and a few other elements to build mindfulness as well, to use those tools and those intersections to present the proactive conversation. And the title of tonight's episode is talking about a very special event we have coming up this weekend, and really marks the inaugural endeavor for Hope for the Day into another community and another community intersection that's absolutely essential. So this episode is built around streaming and gaming for mental health. And this weekend, beginning Friday, December 4th, running to Sunday, December 6th, more than a dozen or so people who take part in streaming their different activities, from gaming to other sorts of content that they produce on live stream, are going to be competing in what we call the Stream for Hope Cup. They're going to be dedicating their energies and their streaming activities to raising funds in support of Hope for the Day's proactive suicide prevention work. This, of course, December, and we just had a very successful Giving Tuesday. We are always focused on trying to build sustainability and raise funds. And our goal right now, as we close out the year and doing the due diligence of any nonprofit to make sure that you've built the proper sustainable revenue, our goal into 2021 is that we have the privilege to deliver proactive prevention education directly to nearly 27,000 individuals over the course of 2020. That's even with making the adjustment to shifting our in-the-field educations to video engagements. We were still able to bring groups of human beings together, even though it was over cam, to deliver our education work and give them impactful tools and resources to begin adopting the proactive mindset, to begin working towards trying to develop signs, recognition of the early signs and symptoms of mental health challenges, trying to empower early intervention and early reach out for support and services, and most importantly, the foundational work to disrupt the highest risk factors for suicide and self-harm. And we knocked it out of the park with 27,000 this year, and our goal had been trying to reach 20,000. And we're always trying to aspire to the next sort of mountaintop. And in 2021, our goal is to reach 50,000 individuals through direct education resources. So when we talk about direct education, we're not just talking about, oh, we shared an Instagram post and maybe somebody learned something from that picture. We're talking about the commitment of bringing personnel like myself, people who are educators, like our director of education, Mike, people who lead our proactive workspaces, education, Christmas, a whole phenomenal team of surrogates. Some you're actually going to meet one of them tonight. You've seen before on our shows. And we're going to go out and deliver our education programming directly to human beings across America, across the globe. And even in the face of COVID still lingering around, even if it's digital for parts of the year, we're still going to be committing to trying to knock out this monstrous number. And we need the funds to be able to secure the staffing, the resources, the administration to deliver that and dedicate the time to do that without charging individuals for that education experience, trying to keep the lowest barrier to access this mental health education. So this weekend, December 4th through the 6th, we have something called Stream for Hope Cup, in which a dozen or so individuals who do different sorts of primarily video game streaming have signed up to do their darndest to raise funds in support of proactive suicide prevention. And it's kind of like an open rally tournament. It's not one gaming tournament. It's whatever someone's doing in their platform, they're going to do their best to sort of generate funds from that. So whether they dedicate themselves to one type of video game, or maybe they do something like IRL streaming, a more conversation, slice of life based streaming, they're dedicating their energies in their community space inside of the streaming world. And the overall winner will get prizes and incentives and be the Stream for Hope Cup champion of 2020. And this is an inaugural event. And we have two individuals who are going to be our guests today as we talk about Stream for Hope Cup today, and also talking about just the intersection of mental health in general with both gaming and the concept of streaming too, because I recognize that for some of our audience, you maybe you've heard of it, maybe you've never heard of streaming. We want to sort of educate you a little bit on what that means, because we have such a diverse audience that you're coming from different intersections and ages and backgrounds. So we want to make sure that when we go into a new community space, it may be a new introduction for you too. And we want to normalize that and demystify it, because you might be interested in learning about that. That might become a community space for you. So when we talk about gaming, for instance, that's exactly what it sounds like. Whether I'm not putting a sort of a qualifier in there, whether you're talking about arcade boxes, video game consoles like your PS4s and Xbox, video games on your computer, video games on your cell phone. Gaming, we're just going to talk in the sort of broad, generic sense. According to Wall Street Journal, and as of 2015, nearly 2 billion individuals around the world participating in some form of gaming. So this is something that doesn't really have a prejudice in terms that it's all ages, all demographics, all geographies. People get involved in gaming. And so maybe if you think, well, that's just a teenage thing or a kid's thing or it's a guy's thing or whatever, let me tell you, that's absolutely not true. There's representation across the board in people who take part in gaming. And when we talk about streaming, what we're talking about is this thing in which people will take their online content, as you're watching me right now, they will showcase some sort of activity that they will mass broadcast out to the world through things like a platform like Twitch. If you think of like Facebook as a social media platform where you have a profile and you're sharing things, or Instagram where you share pictures and other cool things with Instagram stories and stuff like that, Twitch is a platform that's maybe you might think of as like YouTube. Twitch is a platform for live streaming. And there's other ones. I don't want to sort of like we're just catering to one. And you can live stream from a number of different platforms. But as far as what live streaming is, it's just broadband sharing some sort of content. And when it comes to content, that could be anything. That could be people sort of just walking around, they go and tourist new areas and they have a cam attached to themselves and you just walk with them as they go to places. However, there's other types of streaming that have gained a lot of attention, a lot of audience following, and drive a lot of very active engagement from a very enthusiastic audience base. And that's streaming that's based around video games and slice of life, sort of what might be called IRL in real life. People just sort of, sharing different sorts of conversations and talking about a lot of different things. And streaming is not necessarily, it might sound like something new to you or a fringe, but we know streaming is something that has become a very growing and active segment of our populations in our society. Again, just referencing back from some Wall Street Journal statistics, in 2018, when it comes to Twitch, the channel I mentioned, there were maybe roughly about 3.5 million streamers on Twitch. If you jump all the way to March of 2020, there's nearly 5 million individuals doing some versions of streaming. And these are people who are doing it maybe daily. Some people do it once a month, different sorts of variations, but nearly 5 million active streamers. And I think we can see the impact of COVID just from March 2020 all the way where it was showing about Twitch was showing about 5 million active users, all the way to November of 2020 now. Twitch reports nearly 8.5 million active streamers, primarily doing gaming streaming and content along those lines. So that's almost 3 million added on in the past couple of months. And Hope for the Day's mission in proactive prevention is to always meet people where they are and not where we assume to be. So when we have platforms like Project Red Team and 86 The Silence and Team Thrive, these are programs that are designed to meet people in the spaces that they already are passionate about. And streaming is not something that hopefully they decided, oh, we're just going to get into it because it's hip. We're going there because we've been connecting with streamers who have wanted to bring this conversation into the community. That's the most organic way that we do things, is that we have people who want to be agents of impact in their community, and they reach out and connect with us. And it starts with asking, hey, can I bring these resources? Can I use these things? Can I talk about this? Can I have your permission to share this with my audiences? And we say yes. And when I say my audiences, sometimes it's private individuals, sometimes it's publicly facing people. But the Stream for Hope Cup that is taking place December 4th through December 6th, this coming weekend, where if you come to Hope for the Day's social media platforms, you'll be able to see us promoting and where to find these people. Stream for Hope Cup is inspired by individuals who were already taking the proactive message into their streaming communities. And so today, two of our guests are individuals who are very much invested in bringing the proactive prevention message into their communities. And we're going to be talking about mental health and gaming and streaming and the whole wide, wonderful world that Hope for the Day looks at sort of, we are beginning our inaugural endeavors into. So we're going to put them on camera, and we'll be talking a little bit more about Stream for Hope Cup and gaming and mental health and streaming together. So first, let's get our guests up on camera. Dex, can you see me? Can we hear you? Hello?
Yeah,
we see you. Going? Daniel, sir, can we see you? Can we hear you? So, as I mentioned before we dive into things, you all right now are going to be hearing us talk about things like Stream for Hope Cup. And at hftd.org/streamforhope, we'll be publishing all the information, and you'll see this again in the chat logs, and we'll be tweeting about it and things like that as well. So rest assured, we're not just talking about it and you have to write it down pen and paper. But I want to thank Dex and Daniel for joining us today. And for our consistent viewers, these are actually familiar faces. We have seen Daniel and Dex before on past episodes, but let's do a quick introduction. We're going to do a reverse order from introduction. Daniel, tell us a little bit about yourself, young man. Where you coming from? What's your streaming passion? How do you intersect you? You're on mute, brother. Oh, let me unmute you.
There we go. No, now you can hear me. Coming from Chicago, been playing games since I could really do much else with any sort of dexterity I've developed. And I play music. That's how I found out about Hope for the Day. Met Johnny and Christmas on Warped Tour a couple years ago. And yeah. And now I also work for Hope for the Day as a workplace mental health instructor.
Beautiful. And folks, when I was talking about surrogates, Daniel is a surrogate. That's what the surrogate means. And if you're interested about that, come to our Get Involved tab, and you can learn more about that as well. Dex, my good sir, how are you?
I'm doing good. For the most part, for me, I think I started following Hope for the Day in a similar way, actually, through music. That's sort of kind of like, I think you've talked about this before, where that's the kind of the grassroots of where Hope for the Day started, is through music and Warp Tour and following those things, and it's great. But I primarily on Twitch, I stream like mostly racing games, cars, like things around cars, things surrounding just driving around, like kind of and for the most part, we recently did a Hope for the Day car show. You guys were a part of that. You know that like we had a bunch of people that came in and made designs and all kinds of different things. But I've been streaming probably now for probably up to and I am currently just an agent of impact. I just spread the word whenever someone comes in that's new. It's just a matter of just explaining to them that it's okay not to be okay. It's and just sharing the message.
That's a beautiful thing. And so both of you, we were excited to have on. And I think the best place to start really, because especially for our audience who maybe they vaguely understand like streaming and gaming, and I tried to do a really quick elevator, like abridged version. But let's start right from the brass and tacks. What does, and it's actually two parts. It's a two-part question because gaming is a thing and deciding to put it to stream, to put it publicly is a thing. So what I'd like to know first is, because you both have identified gaming particularly, what is, and I sort of bifurcated, gaming and streaming because we need to understand there's a few different things. What does gaming mean to you? I'm gonna start right there. What's its value to you? Because I think that's, even if there's been like nice, heady, academically approved articles about the value and importance of gaming, like it's not just for giggles, it can have some worth. What does it mean for you? What do you get out of it? I'll go to Dex and then Dan.
For me, I think that gaming for me started as an escape, a way to just kind of um, take time away from the daily stresses of life and just kind of all that I was dealing with and all the, like there's a bunch of weight bearing down on you. It's the feeling you get depending on what you deal with every day. And I think that gaming for me was just a way to ignore all of that for a little while, maybe like an hour or two, and then come back and deal with the stress and deal with what you have to and make sure that you get done what you need to. And streaming has been a great way to connect with people that are dealing with the same thing. And you get to talk about what everybody's like struggle is. You know that you're not the only one in that sense.
Love it. Dan.
For me, it was definitely I wasn't so much, I guess, interested in or gravitating towards like sports or anything else, or I guess generally outside activities. Gaming I could do by myself. And I mean, back in like 96, 97, that's how it was, because, there wasn't like broadband internet or online gaming or anything. And then, and then when you get people together, it, kind of made it that much more special. And then I feel like a lot of times I don't necessarily know what to talk about or what to communicate with people or to people. Kind of ironic doing streaming and stuff like that. But sometimes with gaming, it was just kind of like, well, we don't need to talk. We can do this, because then also if we do talk, we're going to not know what's going on. So it was a good distraction. It was also about community. And then, I guess also kind of feeling like you have some control when I guess otherwise in the world, you don't have much at that age,
Yeah, I love that. And I love that both of you point that out too, because, we're not necessarily breaking new ground and talking about mental health intersections with gaming. And there's some great writing out there that looks at maybe darker sides of things. Maybe there's maladaptive or unhealthy parts, but I don't think, well, no, that's understatement. I think it's also important to recognize that, all things can have a dark side to them, but we don't, when it comes to gaming, that seems to be one of the things that people will like make a mainstream thing of, but very rarely do you see a consistent effort to make them highlight the mainstream, the positive elements of what gaming is. And for those of you listening and watching right now who may not be familiar, and judging by the 2 billion plus, maybe all of you are familiar, so this is redundant, but just if you're paying attention to Dex and Daniel mentioned, this sense of like having a personal connection, having something that's sort of within your control. You know, you play a video game and you win it, or you compete in it and you achieve in it. That does have a legitimate sense of positive affirmation, a sense of wherewithal of doing something that when you find challenges or difficulties in the real world that sometimes don't have like crystal clear answers or solutions, it can wane on your mind. And so channeling things through video games can actually create like a healthy outlet for not just frustration, but also maybe finding senses of achievement that maybe a parent might dismiss, right? That you could find like legitimate achievement, like you scored you shot a basketball, and it went into the hoop and you feel achievement. That can happen in a video game in a perfectly legitimate way that I think a lot of people don't appreciate. So talk a little bit more about sort of the connection side too, though, with other folks, right? So from gaming, has that been a doorway to help sort of build interactions and relationships, whether that is from streaming or just in your personal life?
I think, it's both. I mean, obviously it starts out, kind of with all right, who plays what game, who has the system, who's got the controllers kind of stuff, like sort of everybody, in a way, just hodgepodging everything together. Like if everybody's got an N64, but we're going to one person's house, just everybody bring a controller or something. I remember when Animal Crossing originally came out for the GameCube, my first roommate that I ever had, he used to also live like 3 blocks away from my parents. So I would bring Animal Crossing over and stuff, or my memory card, and we'd take turns going through each other's towns, seeing what, like, and that's a game where you kind of like are able to see like, oh, this is what you've been doing with your free time, hasn't it? And that kind of stuff. And just like, yo, look at all this like work we're doing. And like, here's like stuff that I was able to exploit in the game. And like, we'd also use like Game Shark and Action Replay and stuff. And like, there were other games and stuff that we'd play, but like that being like the prime example, just kind of like bringing over a controller and my memory card and stuff. And, he's got stuff over there. And then it's like, then there's stuff like Smash Bros, where it's like, oh, anybody will pick it up. It's like a household name now, and it's just like, oh, yeah. Like, I've never played this game, or, you're going to whoop my butt, or, I'm the best. I'm going to, destroy you. That kind of stuff. Helps with the trash talk, helps settle arguments, all sorts of things.
That's great. Thanks.
No, for sure. That's very true. 100%. We've had people that come in. We have this is something that happens on Twitch a lot. There's bots that we use that have currencies, and you can with the one that I have, you can place bets on who's gonna win different matches, and it's a super cool thing to see the people that get so excited about different things. And then even more so with connecting with them on a more like personal level with what they're dealing with, you get to know people so well just by talking to them over the course of however many years you stream. It's just like they like for me, the way I look at my community, honestly, all of them, they have expressed that it's the home away from home in our Discord, in our stream, and things like that. And we're all just an interconnected, like kind of mishmash of a family to an extent. And it's great to see that people find something that they can kind of all relate to, whether you're all playing the same game or not. It's still something like people connected with each other that way.
And I'm, you bring that up, and it's talking about the gaming and streaming intersection. It makes me think of sort of like the sort of evolution we've gone through with video games, where I can think of, in my personal experience, I can think of I'm old enough that there was the GoldenEye era, when I was, in junior high, that was like a communal interaction, right? But then I can also think of like other ways that, I would connect gaming in audience levels. Like it's the one place where my brother and I would be civil. Like, we could be like constant tension, sibling tension, but playing a co-op game, a simultaneous game, that'd be the one place where we're like, like a sort of tag team, unbreakable tag team to do something. And I think about the way like my mother would watch my brother, who played far more games than I did, my brother play, and like she didn't want to play the controller. She didn't want to. She just loved watching him, trial and error and everything like that. And now I think about streaming, how there's people who maybe don't even really like the game that could be being observed, but they love watching you or someone do the thing, if that makes sense. And at home away from home, like, it's so cool. Like, what have been some interesting things you really loved? Like, what drew you each to streaming? Instead of just keeping gaming as a personal endeavor. Start with Dan.
Go ahead,
Dex.
Cool.
Okay, so for me, I think that the majority of the reason I started streaming is because my friends wanted to watch. Like you said, like they didn't necessarily play the same game that I did at the time, but they wanted to see what the game I was talking about. So I started sharing it. I didn't have a face cam. I didn't have a good microphone. I was using a little headset mic. It was just something to do to share with them. And that was the small little, it was like maybe three of us that were kind of just, I was streaming, they were watching. That was it. And it started, like, I enjoyed doing it, and then I started to get more equipment. I started to get more stuff, and over time, it just became something that was a lot of fun to see, like, because random people started to come in and they started to watch the gameplay even before I got all of that extra stuff, all of the lights and equipment and other things. And it was great to see the personalities that you'd run into, and it was it's surreal, I guess, like, in a sense, to see like where I started and where you get to, like, after a while.
Super. That's really cool. Dan?
I got into it because of, I guess, it was made more accessible with the last generation of consoles. So, like, with PlayStation's redesign for the DualShock 4 that they used for the PlayStation 4, they added a share button. So then you just hit the share button, and if your internet's good enough and you have like a Twitch or YouTube or whatever streaming account logged in, it's like you can stream that just like to the account. So I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like, I don't know much about it, but I really like video games, and I have a lot of games on here that I really like. So why not, because this was back in 2015, maybe, so I was still in Real Friends. And then I was thinking like, oh, like maybe there are people who also like give a shit about gaming and stuff. And then I did my first stream by accident because I was just trying to like literally stream like footage from the PlayStation for 15 minutes. There was no like face cam really or anything. And it was, they were just getting my audio through a Turtle Beach headset I had plugged into the PlayStation. And then it accidentally like tweeted out that I was live. And I was just like, okay, I guess we're going to try it out. Like, no camera, just me talking, being like, I didn't plan this. And just to like explore it and see like, who else is out there? What other gamers are out there,
Yeah. I mean, and you guys both, to me, I think we're just, I look at like podcasting where you look at people who are doing it in like 2010, 2011, setting NPR aside, and they were kind of like sort of early adopters, right? And I look at people who even now, where there is definitely a much more robust community, I still look at like people who have really dove in right now are still the early adopters. Like, the whole concept of streaming is still in its infancy in a lot of ways of like where it can go, and we're all like, and I'm not even talking about the joke of like when you get to like some sort of like Hollywood A-lister decides to do like a 24/7 IRL, you know what I mean? Like, but I really think that the way you guys have talked about it is like this wonderful, amazing sort of organic way of endeavoring, and sort of there is an element that we should acknowledge here of like, you are putting yourselves out there, in a way. This is not like a pre-recorded TV show gimmick kind of a thing. And I'm not talking about anything salacious, just the idea of like feeling comfortable to be on camera in real time. It's not something that works for everyone. And did you ever feel like, as you're doing this and you're sharing the games and you're doing those parts, did you ever get a little self-conscious about that? Or is it kind of like, does this feel natural? Has this always felt natural or whatnot? Dan and then Dex.
It definitely felt more natural to me than like talking on stage did at the time. I think that was something, first and foremost, that definitely ebbed and flowed with my tenure in Real Friends. Definitely sometimes where it's like, oh my God, like, dude, you killed it. And then other times where it's like, yo, can we cut the mic real quick so we can start the song kind of thing? It's just, it's more laid back. It's more casual. I don't necessarily like, and this is like a double-edged thing, but like sometimes it's like, I don't necessarily have to always be thinking about something to say. Like there are other things to react to and other ways to entertain through it than, being on stage and playing music and making sure that this performance is 100%. Like, obviously, like you want to bring 100% into streaming, but it's just, it's different. It's more laid back. You can go on streaming for, people do like regularly 10-hour streaming sometimes every day. And then I think, as that's not as physically exhaustive sometimes as being on stage and sweating your ass off and all of that stuff. Definitely something where it's like, you can spread everything out a little longer. There's not necessarily a paywall to it either. So it just, it's good to have like that side of it too, and that accessibility. And I think then using Twitch helped to bolster my public speaking skills as well.
That's great. That's a cool way of looking at it, Dex.
That makes total sense. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Like in every sense that you like. I have severe stage fright. I can't go out and do public speaking. I will start to stutter, and it's not a great scenario. But it's weird because when I'm in my room, I can turn on the camera, turn on the lights, and I just talk, and that's it. And I'm playing the game, and I think that being able to do something else at the same time while you're talking and discussing things with people and reading through the chat and everything else is a way of distracting yourself, and keeping your mind focused on other things while also you're seeing that this number of people is going up every like couple minutes or so. You're seeing more, like, or you just turn the number off. You can do that too, which is great. It's a great feature to see that, so you don't know how many people are there. You can't necessarily always see it. It's something that if you do have stage fright, it's good to turn it off. But definitely, I think that honestly, it has helped me with my stage fright with just like kind of public speaking and being able to express myself verbally, more so than like written, where I just can go forever in my own head. That's the main thing. It's made me better in a sense, definitely.
And I want to jump on that a little bit more with streaming, because the mechanics of this, two parts. We know as a point that when people can find a connection in something, this breaks down one barrier of stigma. So where people might see or feel like a sense of completeness in a live show or a movie theater or going to the ballet or being part of a cooking team, I'm just thinking of like different interests. When people share space with others and they all know they're there for the same shared interest, that's actually disarming some levels of stigma. So like two strangers can become good friends. And I think we can appreciate that, the science of what's happening there. But there's another thing that's happening inside of the streaming experience that isn't able to be repeated in other places. And that is, we're engaging from our own kind of safer spaces. As Dex and Dan are in your room or in a space that you sort of set up for your function, people are often to be engaging from a space that they've designed for themselves or sort of like cornered for themselves, even if it's just their bedroom, right? And that sort of brings me to this idea about, you have all sort of started to endeavor to talk about mental health inside of your streaming, even though you're clearly doing other kinds of content. And I get the feeling like there's an organic response that comes from it. And not just in the sense that, if we talk about suicide prevention anywhere in the world, because, we don't talk about it, people will, be excited to talk about it in the sense of like, this is important. But can you sort of share, like, as you've been talking about mental health or brought it up, even if it's just sort of casually, you didn't make a mission to do it, it just sort of happened. What have been like the responses you've seen from people as it comes up on your streams? Dex, sort of go reverse.
So I think that for the most part, a lot of people come to me and they'll like, this is first time in the stream or whatever it may be. They are like, oh my God, you're like so wholesome, or like that's one word that gets thrown around a lot. And then there's another one that's I'm so glad that you're talking about this. I lost someone to this, like, or to suicide, or they'll tell their story for a second, and it's great to see that people are willing to open up like that. It's the response when I start to talk about it more so, like when something happens, usually it's an alert goes off in my stream, and when that specific alert goes off, it is my cue to just kind of give like a little spiel about hope for the day, about mental health awareness, about prevention, and just I've had people that they have to actually stop watching the stream because they tell me that they're gonna cry or that this hits home for them, and I think that having the conversation is good. I feel bad when I have people that say that, but at the same time, it's genuine and raw in the conversations that we have. The reactions are real, and I think that people like it comes across in that sense across because you have that live interaction as opposed to a pre-recorded thing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Dex said, you have that raw, urgent, right there response, which I think unless you're either a professional actor or a sociopath, you can't necessarily fake. So, and having hope for the day, like because I have it included in my bio on Twitch, and then it's in my socials as well. So then, people will come in, ask about it, being like, oh, well, what do you do with the organization? Or just like, what is the organization in general? That one is less common just because, like, thankfully, a lot of people that come into the streams or have been a fan of any of my contributions towards, whether it be like Real Friends or Rationale, like, we were always hyping hope for the day and stuff. So people know. So then they're just kind of more curious. And then when I explain about, being able to break down stigma in workplaces, being able to lean on coworkers, think a little bit more outside of the box for your toolbox, for your valves, for things to relieve stress and pressures, then I know that a lot of stuff like that will then start to elicit some conversation around maybe like how people are doing currently, like maybe what they might be dealing at work, stuff like that. And then it's always kind of like one of those things with people being able to come in anyways, just ask like, oh, how are you doing? Blah, blah, blah. I know some of the bigger streamers lately have very publicly said like, oh, don't ask me how I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. You don't know how many fucking times I answer that shit every day. And it's just like, damn, dog. They just want to make sure like that you're having a good time when they like give you their time and shit, So like a lot of people are usually pretty honest. I don't know if it's because, kind of like hiding behind like the glass of your phone or your computer screen, stuff like that. But it helps to bring on, I guess, more of a candid and intimate reaction and sharing from people in the chat as well. So I think it's definitely both sides, and thankfully, Twitch has a little bit of ways to go as far as how people are able to tag their streams, outside of, general gaming stuff. But thankfully they have stuff like if your stream has closed captions for accessibility options. If you talk about mental health a lot, which mental health, I have a tag on most of my streams, if not all of them now, just saying that like, hey, it's like an open topic. People also use like the LGBTQIA tag as well, whether they are LGBTQ plus or not, just to kind of be like, oh, it's like a safe space to come and talk about those kinds of things too, and then people will kind of, sometimes I've even gotten people just going through the tags and stuff and just being like, oh, like mental health, just chatting, like, cool. Like some people get upset because they want their chat read instantly. They're like, oh, I'm in a mental health stream right now, I need help. And I'm just like, dog, I have a 2-year degree, some psychology classes, some 200 level, but like, dog, you don't want to hire me for that. It's like, I can tell you how to get to that professional. I can be that bridge, like we talk about, get you to those resources, but like, I'm not that resource,
Absolutely. The word bridge just like was a buzzword that 100%. I've talked about that all the time. That definitely. And I have the crisis text line, the number and everything as a timer in my chat, so it pops up. And there's also a command specifically for it.
I got to get on that too.
Definitely.
I'm slacking.
And it's it's funny as you're noticing that too, because our so our marketing director Becca was just mentioning how Dex, you self-described yourself as wholesome. Meanwhile, Dan's got the profanity counter in his thing.
No, I don't count profanities. They have a channel point reward where they can have me not cuss for 10 minutes.
Oh, that's sweet.
And then I have a counter for how many times I go pee during a stream, which I'm gonna have to do that in a second here.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's my get it right, Carl. You didn't. Whoever's doing your research and hope for the day, guess fire them, shit. Hire me.
Oh shit! Shots fired.
Coming for your job. But with that, I'm gonna take a little bathroom break real quick.
And that's not a problem. That's actually a pretty good transition too for a little half second, because we're gonna put a little spotlight on my main Dex here for a second, because
wait, what?
Here's the thing, Mike. I hope you're ready. So it's not yet, Mike. So anyway, when it comes to mental health, and the biggest obstacle is stigma. We talk about this at all times, because the fact is that stigma is not just a buzzword, okay? And it's not just a hashtag. Stigma are the social and cultural factors that try to dictate how we express ourselves. And that's what's actually creating the obstacle of silence, how we express ourselves. Because when we talk about mental health, it's our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And communicating that out, it's the laughing, it's the crying, it's also our words. And when it comes to stigma, what makes us silent is going to be actually unique for each different person. The things we don't say and why we don't say them can come from an intersection that's cultural or ethnic or geographic or economic. It can come from because our parents told us something, and our parents told us that because they grew up being told that by their parents. And it can come from things that have kept generations upon generations of our family members, of our community members, of our peoples as an ethnic group silent, because we've inherited a false misunderstanding of what mental health is. That mental health is effectively organic. It's our reality, and it's based within our body, and it's based on genetics. It's based on developmental factors. It's also based on the fact that just because there are words or things that happen externally, they can create such intensive impacts on our self, on our being, that it can create a psychological injury, even if there's not some sort of physically evident injury, trauma to connect with it. And we bring that up because this silence shapes not just the individual who stays quiet because of fear of judgment or shame and things like that, but this silence is something that permeates in our communities. We don't make resources visible. We don't show where people are supposed to go for help. We don't show people how to recognize earliest signs and symptoms. And this even shapes our institutional levels too. How we as the professionals in the world will respond. It can unintentionally create hierarchies around mental health, that this is higher risk than this other thing. And that can make people stay silent, because the fact is that if you look at the way professional services exist, they're essential, they're needed. We need more of them, and we need more funding for them. But because of the way things are so silent and so stigmatized, oftentimes professional services can't do anything but wait for someone to reach a crisis stage. That someone will be concealing their mental health challenges all the way up until they can't hide them anymore. And their challenges lead to physical behaviors that other people can notice. And that's just like, I'm sort of like washing away all the fancy talk. That's really the most consistent way that mental health gets confronted in our communities, is when someone can't hide it anymore. That their challenges become so big that they start, whether it's benign, like they stop missing work or stop showing up for social functions and school, and they're crying in the corner all the time, or their behavior becomes even more dramatic, or that becomes dangerous to others. That's unfortunately a lot of the status quo of mental health. And proactive prevention is about trying to start that conversation earlier. It's trying to disrupt all those factors. And the number one science, when we talk about people being bridges, that Dex and Dan brought up, is we need people out there who are going to make the commitment to start these conversations proactively. You don't have to have all the answers, Sway. You don't have to know every little thing about mental health, the medulla oblongata, and body chemistries and enzymes and all these different things. What you do need to know is that it's okay not to be okay. And through Hope for the Day, we can provide education that builds that understanding for you, and we can help train you to get to a point where you can go out and impart that message to others. And one of the first things we're always trying to do and celebrate is people who are willing to be agents of impact, people who are willing to sort of take that message, regardless of the level of their training. They're willing to break the silence first, because prevention starts with a conversation. And to that effect, we wanted to sort of talk about, as we're closing down this program tonight, Stream for Hope Cup is in one part helping raise funds to support continuing to spread that education to other people into 2021. But even the participants of the Stream for Hope Cup this weekend, December 4th through December 6th, are doing it in order to bring this conversation into their community spaces. Just by talking about it as they're doing what is natural, organic, and fun to them, that's how we do prevention. It starts with these conversations and finding any sort of way we can bring the intersection together. Now, Stream for Hope Cup is actually inspired by people who were already streaming and doing things. And Dan and Dex were individuals who were already involved in the stream community, who encouraged us to begin looking at how hopefully they could more formally get involved. And Dex, because we've had a longer, we've known Dan through a lot of different sort of platforms. Dex came to us specifically from streaming, was our initial point of contact. And the way it happened was Dex decided he was going to do fundraising and talking about Hope for the Day regardless. And people, the thing that we like to celebrate is people taking the initiative on their own. And it doesn't matter whether you're trying to do an event in your junior high or bring awareness to your Cub Scout, Girl Scout group, into your place of worship, your business, or someone like Dex who said, you know what, I'm going to talk about this in my community. And he took the initiative and really kicked ass. He put a fundraiser together through streaming. But even beyond that, also brought his community together, did that great, amazing little car show action. And we decided that as Stream for Hope marks the inaugural endeavor into streaming, we should also cite sort of our leading inspirations. And Dan and Dex, you represent that. But we wanted to commemorate Dex because you're already a Hope champion already. I was really hoping I'd have a physical object to show, but I got a graphic for you to sort of commemorate what we wanted to sort of declare. Mike, you can roll that now. So we wanted to just sort of like ambush you a little bit, and Mike, you got that live, buddy? And wanted to just sort of commemorate you as our inaugural sort of digital agent of impact of the year. Where's that image at? I wanted to share with you, and what I did is like we've got for the Stream for Hope Cup champion, we've got like we made a little like gamer control graphic, and I thought I was gonna have it to be like show. No, that's all blame all this on me. And I thought I was gonna have a little certificate thing for you, Dex. Too, and so I wanted to like sort of make a fancy little bangerang thing. But let me just show you what I did make. And when I say did, because I'm a damn liar, when I say did make, I mean our super talented creative director, Vicky, ripped it up in the kitchen like hotcakes. I got this little thing for us going. So we do a little, a little showing the love. But I do have a legit. We invested in like a cool little certificate. Just wanted to sort of acknowledge that. I thought it'd be fair because the people who are going to be joining in the Stream for Hope Cup will be oftentimes their very first action with us. So you kind of had a head start, so we didn't want to like we didn't want to rob you of like that acknowledgement. I thought it'd be important, in the same way that we've always wanted to celebrate. Dan's been kicking ass with us and is already elevated to like Dan's at that like near Jedi Master surrogate level. Being able to actually go out and deliver education in our name. And Dex, one day that could be you, brother. And people who are watching right now, you can get to that surrogate level as well as an agent of impact. But Dex, wanted to thank you for being an amazing agent of impact, and put you on the spot. If you got a little speech, got a few words.
I don't have a speech. No, like thank you for.
Speech.
Oh my god! No, I don't have a speech.
Do a speech.
The hope for the day for me has been. Hope for the day for me has been a lifeline since 2015 when I found the Instagram page. Right, that was really it. And like we were talking about before, it was all through music, through Warped Tour, through all those things. And there were these inspirational little quotes. I talked about this in the Forza Monthly that I did. And it was really great. It was awesome. And having those little quotes, Quote for the Day doesn't do this anymore, but I still have a lot of the pictures and stuff like that saved, and I post them for my community, and it's great. Every couple of days there's a different one that I have saved on my phone that I'll put up there, or I'll go back into the Hope for the Day Instagram and look at those. If you guys ever want to go see that, if you want to see what I'm talking about, you can scroll through all of them. They're all still archived in there. Everyone's chanting in the chat. Oh, Clary's here. Oh my god. Oh man, everyone that watches my stream is now in the YouTube and all the other channels, and they're chanting now. I'm sorry, I'm a hot mess. But no, thank you guys. I appreciate you all. That's amazing. I think, like, honestly, it's crazy because I think I talked to you about this before, Carl, in our other meetings. Is that like I get like these acknowledgments and things like that. And it's great, and I don't necessarily see it as something abnormal, and I think that's something that it's weird, I guess, for me, because I don't take compliments like very well, and it's great. It's cool. I love it. I am, but at the same time, like I'm just like, what do you mean? This is normal for me, and I think that's part of the issue that I have right now because I'm super nervous at the moment. I'm not gonna lie to you, I really am. But no, seriously though, thank you guys. Seriously, I really do appreciate it. Honestly, I do. Like for you guys to be able to create this space with Hope for the Day so that I can actually spread this message in a way that is open for people, and it's honest and it's raw, and it's just like you're proactively going out and saying that, hey, we know there's a problem, we want to help you fix it, this is the place where you can go to do that, these are the resources that are available to you, and just make sure that people understand it's okay not to be okay. That's the whole thing. That's really it.
Oh, beautiful.
Oh my God.
And look,
he would do that to me though.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta show the love. Like I think, people spend too much time also like digging on the negatives, and I think we don't do enough raising people up when they got to be raised up too. And that's just sort of a life in general thing. And I think you both need to be recognized. And I want to celebrate the people who've signed up to be part of Stream for Hope Cup. We're dropping all your information on our website. You check the graphics card. Our social media team is going to be putting updates up throughout the weekend, and we'll be acknowledging the overall winner and sending out like the sort of trophy actions, and Dex, you gonna get your thing. So you'll have to do like an unboxing when it gets sent to you, or something like that. But before we wind down, I kind of want to just like hold space for both of y'all if you have some sort of like some closing thoughts and everything. Dan, how you feeling, brother?
I'm feeling good. Should I? Oh, I can do it from my end. Let's go. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm like cropping shit here. But I don't know. For me, I think that streaming is a great way to interact with people real time. I think while there still is a lot of bullshit on the platform, as there are any sort of social media platform, it is a great way to just engage, build a community, be a part of a community, and just get like genuine, authentic experiences, and interactions. And I mean, that's really it. I think it gives people kind of like a toolbox to be like, here, you're starting out with gaming, but maybe you have other interests, like try that out first and then see where it goes, because I also see other streamers kind of branch off from other things and start doing like, maybe they want to start messing around with photography. So they do some photography streaming and stuff and kind of incorporate hobbies into their part of their work and their income, stuff like that. It's for growing passions, and it's for sharing them, and teaching and helping other people that might be wanting to get into whatever craft you're streaming, or checking out whatever new game you just bought, or seeing, what really got you into gaming and how you respond to your favorite games in general in the first place. Just going back to just the genuine interaction.
That's righteous. That's great. Thank you so much, Dan. Dex, I know I'm putting you back on the spot one last time.
Okay. So, I mean, streaming is something that it's not difficult. It's just genuinely opening up a conversation about anything, about the game you're playing, about what someone had for dinner the night before or something like that. Doesn't matter what it is. It's just a way to engage with people, and it allows you the opportunity to encourage one another. I think is the main thing. That's the way that I look at it, and that's what I use it for, and it allows me to do that. Is the main thing. That is the biggest part of why I actually stream now. That's my encouragement to keep doing it, is that the stories that people will tell me, like, oh, you helped so much, or oh, this particular topic is something that's really hits home. Like I said before, it's great to see that people are actually willing to open up and talk about how they feel and what's going on with them, and being able to create that medium for people to, or a platform for people to be able to do that through live streaming, just by hosting a server or place for them to do it is great. It's good to see that people are able to come together and support each other, no matter what it is, whatever's going on with them personally.
Yeah, that's great. Well said. And just so we have on the record, because we wouldn't be doing our jobs, where can people find you guys? Yes, we're going to be posting it in our stuff, but just so that we have the audio of it on video. Dex, where can people find you?
Twitch.tv/Dex Howell. I'm also on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok as well.
Yeah. All right. Dan, where can people find you?
Twitch.tv/Don Lumps. Also on Twitter and Instagram, but you can find the links on the Twitch account. Twitch just did their own like link tree thing, which I think is tight. So just send them there. Send them there.
Sure.
Let's go. Thank you both for joining us. For everyone who's watching right now, and if you engage this content in the days afterwards, if you're familiar with streaming, keep an eye out for Hope for the Day as we continue to grow our presence. Got some cool new things we might be cooking up in 2021. That's a hint. If this is an entirely new topic to you, the gaming part or the streaming in general, I want you to think about Hope for the Day's mission. When we talk about proactive suicide prevention, this is not something that is done just from one person in this organization or through a fancy commercial or billboard. It's done by empowering individuals to bring this conversation into their communities. And going into the streaming world is just the same as when we go into the CrossFit world or endurance sport or into yoga or into biking or into music, whether it's hip hop, pop punk, metal, or country. There is no limitations to the intersections that we can meet to talk about mental health because it's a part of every single facet of every single one of our lives. And the goal with proactive suicide prevention is that we can be starting conversations. We can be creating tools for the earliest signs of distress. We can disrupt the highest risk factors for crisis and for suicide. And in order to do that, the real end run for our goal is to get as many people as possible educated and involved in this conversation. If you are listening right now or in days after and you want to know how you can help, how you can make a difference, how you can make an impact, then connect with us at Hope for the Day. Our job is to help train you to go out and connect with your peers. Because the most powerful thing we can be doing for others is letting them know why it's okay not to be okay. This is a message that each one of you can share. You do not have to be an expert. You don't have to have a clinical degree to help change other people's lives and be able to start a conversation that can save lives. So Stream for Hope Cup is airing from December 4th through December 6th. We encourage you to check it out. Check out Dex's platforms. Check out Dan's platforms. And I want to thank Dan and Dex for joining us tonight. I want to thank our amazing production team, Mike, Rick, Vicky, Becca, what up, homie? I want to thank all of them and the Hope for the Day team as a family. And most importantly, I want to thank you, the viewers and listeners, for joining us on Conversations Cafe. I hope you have a wonderful night and be well. Take care, everyone.
Mental health is very serious, and it can get very serious, and it can be very scary, and people don't want to talk about that.
For them, it's often bullshit or it's just in my head.
They were afraid of it. When people think mental health, they automatically think like straitjacket, padded room.
I didn't have a proper outlet or a proper voice for a lot of things that I was feeling inside.
I've always had trouble with anxiety, depression.
In my last year of middle school was my first suicide attempt.
I was at a dark point in my life as well, but I managed to overcome with the help of friends, of course, and then also talking and sharing.
Asking for help is what saved my life.
If you're really lost and you don't know what to do, you can build on that and you can learn.
When I started talking about what I felt, it became a huge relief because they were incredibly understanding.
Talk about things, just talk.
You can make it acceptable to not be okay.
It's okay not to be okay.
It is okay, you need okay te voelen.
Ce n'est pas mal de ne pas se sentir bien.
It's okay not to be okay, it really is.